My child, my beloved, lean in closer. This is not a coincidence, this is not random, it is the moment your inner world pauses, the moment your spirit leans in, as if something long buried is rising toward the surface. When the script says heaven stopped you, it is a metaphor for the way your heart sometimes freezes on a sentence, because it recognizes something deeper beneath the words. And when Michael orders you to open this, it is not a command from the outside, it is the voice inside you that refuses to let you walk past the truth awakening inside your chest. This message is sealed with your name, because it speaks to a part of you no one else sees. Not your public face, not the version of you shaped by expectations, but the quiet vulnerable place where longing, memory, intuition, and hope intertwine. When the script calls it sacred and private, it means your emotional world deserves a safe room, a place where your feelings can breathe without interruption. Your soulmate's hidden truth is not an external secret, it is a symbol of the unspoken emotions you have been carrying. The heaviness in your chest, the pull toward a name, the restless dreams, these are not supernatural signs, they are the way your own heart tries to speak when your mind tries to quiet it. That pull you feel is the tension between desire and fear, between possibility and doubt, between what you want and what you're scared to admit. And when Michael says stay, it represents your spirit asking you not to run from what you feel. The script is not predicting anything, it is reminding you that deep connections often create echoes, thoughts that return, dreams that linger, feelings that refuse to disappear no matter how often you try to bury them. These inner signals are not accidents, they are the emotional fingerprints of someone who impacted you more than you realized. When the script calls this destiny, it means this bond shaped you. Not in the mystical sense, but in the emotional sense, some connections become turning points. They teach you, stretch you, awaken you, challenge you. And when the script describes forces trying to break it, it is speaking of doubt, fear, miscommunication, insecurity. Those inner forces that often sabotage our deepest connections before they have space to grow. Stop, breathe, feel that warmth in your chest. That is emotional recognition, it is your body responding to truth, the way the heart responds to a familiar melody. Tingling on your skin, tightness in your ribs, a sudden breath. These are natural responses when something touches an inner memory. You can deny it mentally, but the body keeps its own archive. Your soulmate never left you, is symbolic of emotional residue. Even when someone is not physically present, the impact they left does not vanish. Their influence remains woven into your thoughts, your hopes, your inner world. That is what this line means, it is not literal, it is emotional truth disguised in spiritual language. Their prayers rising for you, is a poetic way of saying the connection shaped both of you. Even in silence, the bond was meaningful for them too, though they may not have known how to express it. Silence can come from fear, confusion, overwhelm. Not from indifference. Here is the real warning, someone standing in the middle, represents inner conflict. Self-doubt, old wounds, negative voices, assumptions made in pain. These are the shadows the script speaks of, they are not external enemies, they are emotional patterns that interfere with clarity. If you walk away from introspection, those patterns remain unchallenged. Do not ignore this, means do not ignore yourself. Do not silence your intuition, do not walk away from healing, do not turn from the truth blooming inside you. If you stay present, stay reflective, stay honest. Your inner world becomes clearer. Your soulmate is closer than your breath, because their impact is within you. It sits in the unseen places, in the lessons learned, in the growth gained, in the compassion you developed because of what you shared. Nothing about this is supernatural, it is emotional closeness expressed poetically. When the script says these words are heavens, it means they come from the deep place inside you that only awakens in stillness. The part that speaks when you let silence do its work, the part that recognizes truth even when you resist it. Your whispered question, "Show me if the bond was real," is symbolic of your search for clarity. It is the desire to understand your own heart, not a request for a supernatural sign. And the answer here is gentle. Your connection felt real because it was emotionally real. Their silence was fear, is metaphorical. It means silence often hides insecurity, not rejection. People withdraw when overwhelmed, not always when uninterested. And their longing, symbolized as prayers, represents the emotions they didn't know how to voice. The heat in your chest is emotional memory. Not divine instruction. Your body remembers what mattered, your soul recognizes the echo of connection. That's why their presence rises in your mind so quickly. Your soulmate's hidden truth is symbolic. They carry the impact of the bond just as you do. They may have tried to bury it, deny it, or move past it. But some connections imprint themselves quietly and permanently. Every road led back to you means the emotional lesson keeps resurfacing. Not fate dragging them toward you, but the heart pulling both of you toward understanding. The false voice is your inner critic. The shadow is old fear. The hand weaving lies is insecurity. These are metaphors for the emotional obstacles that clouded the connection. Everything collapsing is symbolic of clarity. Old confusion breaking apart, old fears losing power, a new honesty rising. Your soulmate's silence hid longing, not prophecy. It hid vulnerability, not cosmic secrets. They hoped you wouldn't give up on yourself, not because of destiny, but because the connection mattered. Michael's warning is a metaphor for intuition. Doubt now would silence what your heart is ready to understand, presence now brings peace. Close your eyes, their face appears. Not because of magic, but because of memory. Their voice echoes, not from heaven, but from your emotional history. That is the truth your soul recognizes. If you wish to express your support further, you have the option to give super thanks with contributions of up to $10, but listen closely now, because what comes next is the part your heart has been circling for years. The truth your mind tried to ignore, but your spirit kept returning to. When the script says deception in the circle around your love, it is not speaking of villains hiding in corners, or shadows plotting in secret. It is pointing to misunderstandings, assumptions, unspoken expectations. Those subtle emotional patterns that twist the truth without anyone meaning to. Your soulmate did not deceive you, they simply didn't know how to navigate the layers of pressure surrounding both of you. And here is the deeper metaphor, sometimes the circles we walk in create noise that drowns out our own voice. People project fears, they give advice from their wounds, they interpret your connection through their own discomfort. Your soulmate felt that pressure, they sensed opinions forming around them, they felt eyes watching, expectations tightening, small comments becoming heavy. And instead of ruining everything with premature truth, they retreated to protect what felt fragile inside them. You may feel a tightness as these words settle, because your spirit recognizes emotional truth long before your mind accepts it. They were not hiding to deceive you, they were hiding to protect the connection from being shaped by voices that didn't understand it. They needed space to grow into someone capable of loving without collapsing under the weight of outside influences. Michael's symbolic voice echoes here, not as a supernatural order, but as the inner wisdom urging you to look beyond the surface. He whispers, "Silence is not betrayal when the heart is learning to breathe." Your soulmate's quiet was a shield, a pause, a place where they tried to untangle old wounds before letting you see the rawness underneath. Hear this, your soulmate saw things you didn't see because they were standing at a different angle of the story. They noticed how certain people reacted when your name came up, they felt the shift in energies when you weren't present, they picked up on hesitations, sideways glances, half-spoken opinions, small fragments that revealed who truly understood your bond and who didn't. This is not conspiracy, it is emotional intuition. Some souls are simply more sensitive to the undercurrents around them. And the truth they carried was heavy, because they feared it would hurt you, complicate things, or create storms neither of you were ready to weather. So instead of speaking, they held it inside, hoping the moment would come when honesty could blossom without destroying what you were still building. Take a slow breath, this part of the story is where growth begins. Your soulmate's silence was not a wall, it was a door they didn't yet know how to open. They were trying to decode their own fears, trying to find language for emotions they'd never dared to express. And in that fumbling, in that uncertainty, misunderstandings were born. Not because of malice, but because of vulnerability. The deception mentioned is a metaphor for the misunderstandings and doubts that crept between you from unspoken pain. Those shadows were never people, it was miscommunication, timing, fear, unresolved histories. These are the things that distort even the purest connections, if not brought to light. Michael speaks again in symbolic clarity, urging you to approach this truth with gentleness. He whispers, "Do not assume betrayal where there is only fear, do not judge a wound before seeing its origin." Your soulmate's truth is not a confession of wrongdoing, it is a confession of being human. Think about how many times you've held your own truth back, not because you wanted to lie, but because you were still learning how to say it. That is exactly where they stood. They loved deeply, but spoke cautiously, they cared fiercely, but feared loudly. They reached for you, but trembled at the idea of being seen too clearly. This is where your heart is asked to rise, not in blind loyalty, not in naive forgiveness, but in mature understanding. You are being invited into a deeper emotional chapter, one where love is not fantasy but growth, not destiny but choice, not perfection but courage. Your soulmate's hidden truth is this: they were trying to protect both of you from a storm they felt brewing inside themselves. Not outside interference, not literal forces. Their own doubts, their own fragile parts, their own inner shadows. They worried their brokenness would spill into your hands, before they had the strength to hold it with steadiness. And this is where the metaphor widens. The truth that saves you is not a revelation about others, it is the revelation of how deeply they cared even in silence. They were shielding you from their emotional turbulence, hoping to face their inner chaos before returning to you with clarity. You may see flashes of memory now, a look, a hesitation, a moment where something felt unsaid. Let those memories rise, they are puzzle pieces finding their place. When they fall into alignment, understanding blooms where confusion once lived. Michael's symbolic urgency appears again. Meet hesitation with compassion, not accusation. Your soulmate's fear was not a weapon, it was a wound. And wounds heal through gentleness, not pressure. This moment becomes your turning point. Will you hold space for the truth, or will you let old fears interrupt what is trying to grow? You are being invited into healing, that belongs to both of you, not just one. Hear this with a steady heart, the emotional patterns that clouded your connection are dissolving, because awareness is rising. And awareness is the beginning of transformation. This is not about blaming the past, it is about understanding it, so it no longer shapes your present. Your soulmate's confession is not about danger, it is about vulnerability. Not about warning, it is about awakening. Not about loss, it is about rediscovery. Good, you are still here. And that means the story is ready to deepen, in ways your spirit has quietly prepared for all along. This is where the meaning deepens, because the script is no longer talking about conspiracies outside of you, it is speaking in metaphors about the ways others' opinions, expectations, and misunderstandings shape the path of your connection. When it says they steered the story away from the truth, it means that people around you influence decisions in subtle ways, through silence, hesitation, or protective instincts. Not villains in the dark, but well-meaning voices who softened truths or redirected conversations, because they didn't understand the connection's depth. Your soulmate felt torn between loyalty to the roles they were raised to play, and the pull of the emotional truth they shared with you. This is what the script calls destiny, not a literal cosmic plan, but a connection strong enough to challenge old patterns. Heaven asking you to view this with compassion, means you are being invited to understand the emotional complexity behind their choices. Not to assign blame. Michael's metaphorical command to expose the shadow is not an invitation to accuse people, it is an invitation to bring hidden emotions into the light. Shadows in this context mean unspoken feelings, unresolved misunderstandings, fears that never found words. The script urges you to uncover those truths gently, so healing can begin. Truth unravels the knots created by silence, and mercy gives both hearts room to breathe. This is how you move forward, not by condemning the past, but by reclaiming clarity, and rewriting the emotional narrative with honesty. The tremor you feel is the internal shift when truth begins to rearrange itself inside you. Emotional clarity often feels like chaos at first, because it shakes the structures built on assumptions. But once the initial disruption settles, there is peace. Peace that comes from knowing the truth, rather than fearing it. When the script says God guides every step once you choose honesty, it is expressing a metaphorical truth. clarity opens doors that confusion keeps shut. And yes, your soulmate's love was real, even when their actions were hesitant. Love can be messy, scared, wounded, imperfect, and still remain true. That is why the script asks you to stand in the light, instead of hiding in the comfort of familiar confusion. Michael's softened whisper, "This revelation will change their path," is symbolic of how truth shifts relationships. Either by deepening them or clarifying where distance is needed. Either way, the future becomes purer, because illusions drift away when truth arrives. Stay, keep listening, it says there is more to come. And that represents the unfolding of emotional understanding, not literal signs from angels. When the script talks about more names, more signs, it is teaching you to pay attention to subtle emotional cues you once dismissed. The small ordinary thing that breaks open the secret is symbolic of moments of clarity. An unexpected memory, a conversation that reveals something you never noticed before, even a message that hits differently now that you're aware. These moments act as emotional hinges that open the next door. Michael saying the small door is the hinge of your miracle is metaphorical language. Meaning that small realizations often lead to big breakthroughs. A forgotten name that resurfaces is simply your intuition drawing your attention to unresolved feelings or past influence. The tightening in your chest is emotional recognition, not a cosmic signal. Repeating numbers represent patterns, not supernatural codes. Seeing the same sequence is like your mind highlighting themes you've ignored. Patterns reflect what your spirit is processing, not an external force speaking through numerals. The validation they bring comes from introspection, not prophecy. The moment of confrontation is symbolic of emotional truth rising to the surface. Not conflict with others, but finally facing the questions you've been avoiding. Questions about trust, assumptions, desires, and fears. The script says someone's voice will shift, their expression will change. This is a poetic way of describing the discomfort people feel when honesty presses forward. Your soulmate speaking plainly symbolizes emotional vulnerability surfacing after long silence. It may be hesitant, clumsy, trembling. Because real truth rarely comes in polished sentences, love reveals itself through imperfection, not perfection. Michael's message, "Mercy opens what accusation closes," is a reminder that how you respond shapes what the connection becomes. Compassion creates space for growth, accusation often closes doors that could have been healed. The proofs that knit fragments together are not dramatic revelations. They are insights that suddenly make old memories clearer, a forgotten message, a saved note, a detail you overlooked before. These small pieces help you understand the emotional timeline more accurately. Writing a name on paper is symbolic. It represents acknowledging your feelings, not invoking divine intervention. When the script says angels form a cord of protection, it is describing the emotional strength that comes from clarity and intention. If anger rises, that is human. But the script asks for clarity first, because decisions made from hurt often pull you further from the truth. Clarity brings steadiness, outrage brings distortion. There will be a place to go. This is not literal. It means there will be a moment where you must revisit something, a memory, a feeling, a conversation, a note tucked away. The file or document is symbolic of perspective. Seeing something old with new eyes, that shift in understanding becomes the peace that changes how you interpret everything connected to this bond. And when that moment arrives, something inside you will realign. Not because fate demanded it, but because your heart is finally ready to integrate the truth it once feared to touch. And because you stayed this far, something inside you is finally steady enough to receive the next layer of truth. Without collapsing under its weight, the script isn't warning you of supernatural danger. What it's trying to show you is the inner guidance that awakens when you slow down and listen. When it says Michael's voice will feel close, it means your intuition will feel sharper, your awareness clearer, your heart more anchored than it was before. Prepare yourself spiritually, not with fear but with focus. Fasting in some small symbolic way, a break from social media, a moment of solitude, a pause from noise, helps you hear what your own soul has been whispering beneath the chaos. And when the script tells you to pray, it is teaching you that simple words bring clarity. God, show me truth. God, give me courage. These prayers are not activating invisible armies, they're quieting the storms inside you. So your decisions come from wisdom, not panic. If your soulmate is reachable, approach them with openness rather than accusation. Begin with the sentence, I need to hear something from your heart, truth, nothing hidden. This is not a tactic, it is an invitation. When someone finally feels safe enough to speak without fear of punishment, they reveal layers that silence once suffocated. If they crumble while confessing, offer steadiness. Not softness that ignores responsibility, but gentleness that encourages honesty. Rage may feel righteous, but wisdom is the only force that heals. There will be signs of inner protection, people who show up at the right time, conversations that offer clarity, phrases that repeat until you finally recognize their meaning. These are not angels in disguise, they are your spirit aligning with the guidance you once ignored. Patterns form when your awareness sharpens, a friend's sudden support, an advisor's clear insight, an unexpected conversation, all are reminders that you're not meant to navigate everything alone. Listen for the repeated phrase that returns to you, from dreams or conversations or even background music. Not because the universe is sending coded signals, but because your mind highlights truths you've avoided. What repeats is often what needs your attention most. Record it, share it only with someone who understands your emotional language, not with those who feed on confusion. The firm instruction not to erase evidence is symbolic. Don't destroy the pieces of your emotional history, old messages, notes, moments, memories. These are not literal anchors, they help you remember the timeline, the patterns, the lessons. When life becomes overwhelming, small details reveal bigger truths. Preserving them isn't about building a case, it's about understanding your heart with accuracy. The tests coming in the next days are not external traps, but internal temptations. A quick apology might tempt you to pretend everything is fine, a generous gesture may make you want to skip the deeper conversation, a sudden promise might make you want to ignore the unresolved pain. But quick fixes are emotional bandages, you are being invited to ask for time, let clarity settle, and avoid rushing into the comfort of denial. If your soulmate asks for forgiveness, look for visible change, not poetic words. True repentance reshapes behavior, it rearranges priorities, it roots itself in actions, not promises. Heaven honors consistent change, is another way of saying your healing deserves authenticity, not theatrics. You may have to set a boundary, distance from someone whose influence confuses your path. This is not cruelty, it is emotional stewardship. Boundaries protect your peace, the way fences protect gardens. Set them with intention, not anger, release what drains you, so what nourishes you can finally grow. Do not fear when the truth rises, truth does not break you the way silence does. Revelation feels like an incision, but incisions lead to healing. Avoiding truth leaves wounds infected, trust that emotional honesty, though uncomfortable, transforms you into someone stronger, clearer, and freer. The script's invitation to stay connected is symbolic, it means stay with the process, don't abandon your growth mid-path. More clarity will come through reflection, journaling, conversations, and inner stillness. The decisive sign it speaks of, a name, a moment, a symbol, will come not from heaven's intervention, but from your heightened awareness. You will notice what you once overlooked, you will feel what you once suppressed, you will understand what once confused you. Forgiveness is not the same as reunion, you can forgive and still keep distance until trust is rebuilt. Forgiveness cleans your heart, reunion requires mutual transformation. Let wisdom guide your mercy, do not rush back into old patterns just because your heart is tired of waiting. If your soulmate truly chooses honesty and change, the connection can become stronger than before. Forged through truth instead of illusion. But if deception remains, walking away becomes an act of self-respect. Michael saying walk away without malice is symbolic, leave with dignity, not bitterness. Some endings are sacred, because they protect your future. Document your journey, journaling is not mystical, it helps your mind see patterns your emotions blur. Dates, names, impressions, realizations, when written down, they reveal a story that is easier to navigate. When overwhelmed, return to a single grounding sentence. God, show me the way, peace becomes your compass. If something brings clarity with calm, move forward, if it brings fear without peace, pause. If both of you choose truth, transformation unfolds. If only one chooses it, healing will still come, but the path will differ. Either way, God is with you, symbolically meaning you are not abandoned. Michael stands as guardian, represents your inner strength finally stepping forward to protect your peace. Now close your eyes, and ask for one small sign tonight. Not a miracle, but a moment of clarity. A dream, a name, a memory, a thought. When it comes, don't dismiss it. These small threads become the stitching that shapes your next chapter. You are not alone, you were not chosen for punishment. You were chosen because you are capable of carrying depth with grace. Do not let pride or anger destroy what truth could heal. Hold these words like a lamp as you walk, they aren't the verdict, they are the beginning of clarity. And as the path unfolds, you will see that staying awake, staying reflective, and staying honest, was the moment everything inside you began to shift toward healing. When you must speak the truth publicly, choose your words with the precision of a surgeon. not the recklessness of a storm. Your voice right now carries weight, and weight requires restraint. Truth delivered gently holds more power than truth thrown like stones. You are entering a season where every sentence becomes either a bridge or a boundary. So let each one reflect the clarity you fought so hard to gain. This is the moment where your spirit begins to see what your eyes once overlooked. When the script says heaven will not abandon you, it means your inner compass will not fail you anymore. For too long fear muffled your intuition, but now your instincts sharpen, your heart steadies. That trembling in your chest isn't panic, it's recognition. It's your soul stepping into alignment with the wisdom you once doubted. The world choosing sides is symbolic of emotional shifts. When truth rises, people around you reveal who they really are. Some move closer because your honesty gives them courage, others step back because your growth exposes their comfort with lies. Neither reaction defines you, they simply reveal what has always been true beneath the surface. Your soulmate's confession, when it comes, will touch places deeper than you expect. Not because it holds cosmic secrets, but because it reveals human fear in raw form. Regrets they carried quietly, patterns they never understood, insecurities that shaped choices. All of it will surface. When it does, remember the instruction. Compassion turns shame into redemption, fear turns truth into silence. Your response becomes the turning point. Watch how certain people begin to shift around you, some who once opposed the connection may soften. Others may retreat, unsure of how to navigate the new clarity forming in you. This is not a supernatural rearranging, it is the natural reaction people have to someone who has found their voice. When you grow, your environment reorganizes itself around your strength. The practical steps that follow are not dramatic, they're intentional. A call you need to make, a message that requires courage, a document to read slowly, a meeting that clears confusion. These mundane tasks carry the weight of transformation, because they anchor the emotional work you've been doing. Faith is not only spiritual, it is practical discipline. If you uncover betrayal in any form, choose dignity over bitterness. Bitterness chains you to what hurt you, dignity frees you. Michael urging you to leave space for justice is symbolic language, reminding you to let time reveal the full truth before reacting. Your steady restraint becomes your shield. Moments of solitude will start calling you more often now, go into them. They are not signs of loneliness, they are invitations to realignment. In silence you will hear what you could not hear in chaos. A word, a memory, a gentle nudge. These internal whispers are not supernatural commands, they are the parts of you that finally feel safe enough to speak. Not every truth requires immediate confrontation, some truths require time to mature into clarity. Some wounds must be held gently before they are addressed. Discernment is not hesitation, it is wisdom that protects you from reacting before understanding. Avoid testing people with emotional traps, manipulation produces more confusion, not truth. Instead, invite honesty, hold boundaries, allow space for genuine confession, not forced admissions. Healing happens when safety meets truth, not when fear meets pressure. Unexpected provisions will enter your life, not as miracles descending from above, but as opportunities you now recognize because your vision is clearer. A job that aligns with your purpose, a conversation that shifts your understanding, a message that opens a door. These aren't coincidences, they're clarity meeting preparation. If reconciliation is possible, rebuild slow. Trust is not restored in a single conversation, it grows in consistency, small steps, honest check-ins, mutual accountability. Your heart deserves a restoration built on truth, not desperation. Allies will appear, people who intuitively understand what you're navigating. They may be friends, mentors, or even unexpected voices who bring honesty and grounding. Accept their support, vulnerability shared is pain divided. Your body may react with waves of emotion as truth settles. Sleepless nights, sudden calm, emotional bursts, you are not breaking. You are adjusting. Healing is physical as much as spiritual. Care for yourself gently, nourish your mind and body so your clarity remains strong. A final defining moment will come, an action that reshapes your path. It may be a firm boundary, a new start, a closed chapter, or a courageous step forward. It may feel irreversible, because it is meant to be. Do not fear it, necessary steps often tremble in our hands before they strengthen our future. If truth brings loss, remember loss is not punishment. It is pruning. What falls away clears space for what aligns with your growth. What remains becomes stronger, what returns becomes sacred, what leaves was never meant to shape your destiny. This season is refining you. You are not being broken, you are being clarified. Faith is no longer theory, it is becoming practice. Your decisions now become the soil from which your future rises. Do not crave constant revelation, healing is not always a series of dramatic moments, it is the quiet discipline of daily alignment. Your future is built in small unseen acts of courage, honor them. If anger overwhelms you, reach for someone who understands prayerful grounding. Do not let isolation twist your thoughts. Connection brings clarity, confession opens windows, prayer settles storms. Soon you will look back and see how everything aligned, not by magic but by growth. Every delay shaped your patience, every heartbreak strengthened your discernment, every silent night sharpened your intuition. When that moment of realization arrives, celebrate quietly. Not with pride, but with gratitude. Gratitude anchors your transformation and steadies your heart for the next chapter. And now prepare yourself, because the most defining truth, the one your spirit has been circling, is drawing near. Expect provision to appear in unusual ways. Not because the universe bends itself for you, but because clarity makes you see opportunities you once overlooked. When your mind steadies, doors that were always nearby suddenly seem visible. A forgotten option returns, a delayed call arrives, a path you dismissed now feels aligned. These are not supernatural twists, they are the natural results of your spirit waking up. When this provision comes, receive it with gratitude instead of suspicion. Not everything that arrives in a quiet season is a test, sometimes it's an answer, sometimes it's the next stepping stone meant to support your healing journey. Hold it gently, and let it teach you how to rebuild with wisdom rather than impulse. You will also notice your inner landscape beginning to shift in ways you didn't expect. Old fears lose their grip, emotional fog lifts, your heart moves from survival to intention. This is the peace the script spoke of earlier, symbolic of a door closing behind you with kindness instead of force. When you feel that peace, honor it. It means your spirit is beginning to trust truth more than fear. As you walk through this process, choose your advisors carefully. Some people offer insight from love, others offer noise from insecurity. You are being invited to choose voices that steady you, not voices that thrill you with drama. Trusted counsel is not loud, it is consistent, grounded, and clear. Let those voices help you navigate the layers ahead. When confronting truths that were hidden, remember that tone shapes outcome as much as content. Speak calmly, state facts simply, let your presence reflect the steadiness you've earned. When your heart is settled, your words become sharper, cleaner, and more restorative. This is how you stay anchored in dignity while dealing with emotions that once terrified you. There will be moments where you feel the pull to lash out, correct everything, or demand answers immediately. Pause, breathe. The script reminds you repeatedly that rushed reactions create new wounds. If someone is ready to confess or clarify, meet them with the steadiness that invites truth, not the intensity that threatens it. Your calm presence is the doorway through which honest words will walk. As clarity grows, your boundaries will begin to form naturally. You'll feel when to step back, you'll sense when to stay silent, you'll know when to ask a direct question. These instincts are not coming from outside, they are coming from the emotional maturity rising inside you. Boundaries are not walls, they are truths placed gently between you and what once harmed you. A powerful shift will occur when you stop demanding certainty from people and begin cultivating it within yourself. The moment you stop asking others to validate your reality is the moment your spirit stands tall. This shift is subtle, but monumental. It marks the beginning of your true healing arc. If reconciliation is on the table, move slowly and observe the fruit of change. Not promises, not poetic words, not sudden tears. Real change shows itself in behavior over time, transparency, consistency, willingness to be accountable. These are the signs of healing, not grand speeches. Trust the evidence more than the emotion. If separation becomes necessary, let it be a courageous step, not a collapse. Leaving does not mean failure, it means you refuse to sacrifice your future to protect someone else's comfort. Walk away with grace, not bitterness. Leave with lessons, not wounds. A dignified exit is one of the most spiritual acts a person can make. During this process, you will begin to see your own strength in ways you couldn't before. Strength not defined by anger, but by clarity. Not defined by control, but by calm. Not defined by noise, but by discernment. This is the transformation the script has been guiding you toward, an awakening of your inner authority. Prepare for the unexpected moment of emotional release. It may come as tears, as laughter, as silence, or as a quiet exhale. This is your spirit acknowledging the weight it has carried. Let the release happen, it is your body making space for peace to enter. Some relationships around you will shift as your clarity increases. You may outgrow certain dynamics, you may redefine certain expectations, you may strengthen some connections, and gently release others. Let the changes happen without guilt. Growing in truth always reshapes your environment. There will be a symbolic final piece that falls into place. A realization that ties the entire journey together, not a dramatic event, but a quiet understanding. A moment where you see why certain delays happened, why certain truths surfaced when they did, why certain people entered or exited your life. That clarity will feel like light settling into a room you forgot existed. As you walk into this new season, keep your heart soft but your boundaries strong. Softness keeps you open to connection, boundaries keep you safe from repetition, the balance of both is where your power lies. And now, take one slow breath. This is the turning point, the moment where all the layers of truth, all the quiet guidance, all the symbolic messages converge into a single understanding. You are not walking into chaos, you are walking into alignment. Stay steady, stay prayerful, stay awake. The next chapter unfolds, because you were strong enough to reach it. Your soulmate also carried a regret, that weighed heavier than the silence you saw. Not a regret born from betrayal, but from hesitation. Hesitation that kept them frozen, when they should have stepped closer. They held this regret like a stone in their chest, afraid that speaking it aloud would break the delicate connection you once shared. They didn't hide to deceive, they hid because they didn't yet know how to carry truth without trembling. This regret shaped many of the choices you never understood. Moments when they withdrew suddenly, days when their voice felt distant, times when they seemed to avoid your eyes. These were not signs of rejection, they were signs of someone wrestling with an inner storm. A storm they did not want to spill onto your life, a storm they feared would drown both of you, if expressed prematurely. Michael's symbolic voice presses gently here, urging you to look at the regret not as failure but as emotional overflow. He whispers, see their regret as the crack where light enters, not the wound where love dies. In truth, regret is sometimes the proof that someone cared deeper than they knew how to show. Your soulmate cared, but they lacked the language of courage at the time. Now comes the part your spirit has been circling for years. The script says your soulmate overheard things, saw someone close moving with deception. But understand this symbolically, they sensed tension, they noticed mismatched words, they felt the energy of hidden resentment around you. Something you were too close to see clearly. It wasn't a cosmic conspiracy, it was emotional intuition sharpened by love. The double-faced relative described is a metaphor for divided loyalty. Someone who acted warmly, but struggled with their own fears, expectations, or unresolved wounds. Their actions were confusing, not malicious. Yet your soulmate noticed the dissonance first, because they were watching your world from a different angle. They saw the subtle shadows you assumed were normal. When the script says your spirit already knows who it is, it means your intuition has felt this mismatch before. You've sensed something off in certain conversations, a tension beneath smiles, a lingering discomfort you dismissed. Tonight that intuition rises, not to frighten you, but to invite clarity. Emotional masks fall, when truth grows stronger. The heaviness you feel as you read, is not danger, it is recognition. Truth, even symbolic truth, sits with weight, it demands attention, it unravels emotional knots you've carried for years. This heaviness is the shift, from confusion to understanding, from guessing to clarity. Michael's instruction, respond in wisdom not rage, holds deep meaning here. Rage blinds you, wisdom steadies you. Rage leads to defensiveness, wisdom leads to healing. If you approach past misunderstandings with fury, you burn bridges needed for truth. If you approach them with clarity, you create space for reconciliation, or healthy boundaries, whichever your healing requires. Your soulmate's regret also contains a promise, they made quietly. An internal vow rather than an external oath. They told themselves that if they ever had the chance to come clean, to explain, to show you the full story, they would do it with humility. They longed for that moment, they prayed for the courage to speak honestly someday, even if they didn't know when that day would arrive. This is why your nights felt restless. Waking at 3 a.m., sudden memories resurfacing, their face drifting into dreams. These were not mystical signs, they were emotional echoes. Grief, longing, and unfinished conversations pulling at your subconscious for resolution. Your soul remembered what your mind tried to bury. Your connection endured, because its meaning stretched deeper than circumstance. Not fate, not destiny carved in stone, but emotional depth that transcended ordinary bonds. You couldn't forget, because the lessons, the growth, the love, all of it left marks on your identity. You were shaped by the truth of the connection, not by the fantasy of it. Their hidden truth is not meant to frighten you, but to free you. It invites you to see the full picture, to understand how much was happening inside them, while you carried your own storms. They were not your enemy, they were not indifferent, they were overwhelmed. When the script says your soulmate shielded you, see it as a symbol of emotional protection. They withheld certain worries, not out of secrecy, but because they feared adding weight to your shoulders. People often protect others by carrying burdens silently, this is what they did, however imperfectly. And when the mask falls, you will not witness destruction. You will witness clarity. Clarity heals faster than confusion. When truth emerges, gratitude follows. Because it allows you to finally understand what once felt impossible to name. This is the moment where your own strength begins to surface. You realize you can handle truth, you can rebuild, you can release or restore with equal grace. You are not as fragile as you once feared, you have grown, and that growth makes the next step a choice rooted in courage rather than in reaction. Your soulmate's regret also carries a longing. The longing to be understood, the longing to be forgiven, the longing to reconnect through truth rather than silence. Whether that reconnection becomes reunion, or closure, is the part only you can decide now. But hear this hook clearly, your heart will know the right path. Because it is steadier now than ever before, truth no longer terrifies you, it liberates you. And that liberation is the gift this entire message has been preparing you to receive. Take a slow breath, you are nearing the deepest point of revelation, and your spirit is strong enough now to hold what comes next. And now, beloved, here is the part your spirit has been waiting for. When the truth rises like this, it doesn't come to break you, it comes to reposition you. Your soulmate's trembling confession is not the end of the story, it is the doorway to a new beginning. They are not asking for perfection from you, they are asking for space. Space to grow, space to rise, space to finally match the love they once feared they couldn't sustain. Michael leans in again, his voice firm yet gentle. Take this next moment seriously, the shift approaching will not be loud, but it will be clear. The air around you may feel different, heavier, yet comforting. Because your soul recognizes that something in your timeline is aligning. Here is the key, the next revelation will come quietly. Through a conversation, a dream, a single sentence that lands deeper than expected. Do not rush it, do not force it, simply stay open. Your breakthrough is already moving toward you, and now your heart is ready to receive it.